Hello guys and happy Tuesday again. So in today's video what I wanted to do was just give you I guess an update on my credit score. So I know that the last time I did this I think was in November time, so it's actually been a few months, so I thought why not just give you guys an update. So really what I want to talk about in this video is again kind of my journey in terms of where I started, but also just really give some tips in terms of how I've been able to take my score from being fair to good to excellent. And actually last month my score was actually 999 out of 999 on experience, which was absolutely crazy because I really wasn't expecting it. It has gone down by about 6 points, but you know, I'm not too bothered about that. But also I just want to share some tips in terms of what I think that you guys can do in terms of improving your credit score. Before I kind of walk you guys through to my journey in terms of what I actually did to improve it, I should also say that your credit score is different to your credit report. So within your credit score you will obviously have a number. So for Experian it's probably going to be up to 999, and you know there's also Equifax as well that gives you another number, but that's really your credit score. Your credit report is really the details behind everything. So it's really important to not only just check your credit score but also be checking your credit report. And to be honest, I'm more concerned about my report itself rather than the score. The reason being is because lenders aren't just going to look at your score and be like, okay, this person's excellent, I'm just going to borrow them a whole load of money. It doesn't necessarily work like that. You will see that there are going to be different lenders that actually prioritize different things in your report. So that's why I say it's really important to actually look at your report, because what one lender might not really agree with or might not like about your report, another lender could potentially not mind. So it's really important just to actually look at both of them and not just be fixated on the score. So just to give you guys some context, especially if you are new to my channel, I have not always had an excellent credit score, okay? So this is something that I have been building on probably for the past couple of years. In terms of my credit score, it was mainly probably between fair and good, and that was really when I had my high interest debt, so my short-term debt, and so that really included my overdraft, but it also included my car loan as well. And so if someone is telling you that you need to be in credit card debt or you need to have your car financed for you to have an excellent credit score, that is definitely not the case. Because when I had my car loan and I had an overdraft, for example, obviously I didn't have credit card debt, but when I had those two debts, my credit score never went to excellent. But in terms of my recent credit score, so I'm using Experian and I have got a screenshot for you guys, but my score was actually 999 out of 999, and again that was on Experian, and that was quite consistent for about 2 to 3 months, to be honest. And again, this is when I didn't have my overdraft, so I'd already paid off my overdraft at this point, plus I didn't have any car loans either, so I'd paid that off, and I've still been able to get an excellent credit score. Now I should say that I actually logged into Experian today and my score has gone down by 6 points, so my score at the moment is 993 out of 999. But again, it's still very much excellent. I mean, 6 points isn't really that much, so I kind of want to just talk through how I've been able to get to that point but also maintain that score as well. So what I would say is, in terms of my credit score, I didn't actually get to excellent until I had paid off my car loan and my overdraft as well. So until I paid off my 2 short-term debts, my score would not hit excellent. So I really want to challenge you guys, especially if you do think you need to be in high interest debt for you to have a good credit score. I'm living proof that that is not the case, because I don't have any high interest debt at the moment and I've been able to get 999 out of 999 on Experian before. So I really just kind of want to emphasize that. But in terms of what I had done before, is obviously a big thing was actually being able to pay off my high interest debt, because to be honest I think it meant that I would have a lot more disposable income, and so that lenders would know that if I did want to borrow money in the future, I would essentially be able to afford it because I don't have any other high interest debt. And then the other thing I did was actually really again checking my credit report to make sure everything was all okay. So I think this is something that I've mentioned in one of my previous videos where I talk about how you can actually improve your credit score. So if you haven't watched that, I'll definitely link that up here for you and in the description below. So I was looking at things like, you know, what are my joint financial associations with people? So for example, if you're taking a mortgage out with someone, then you're going to have that association. I was also looking at my past addresses, making sure that they were okay, making sure that there weren't any defaults that I wasn't aware of. And to be honest, I didn't actually have any defaults anyway, but really just making sure that there wasn't, you know, like a missed phone bill or something like that, just to make sure that my credit report could be as clean as possible. And I think I've also mentioned this before, but in terms of actually checking your report, obviously if you do go to a couple of the credit reference agencies, you do actually have to pay to view your report. So I basically found a way to see my report for free. So for Experian, I tend to go on Money Saving Expert, so they've got something called Credit Club, and of course I'll link that in the description below for you guys, and it's basically free where you can actually check out your Experian report in a bit more detail, and it also shows you your score and how you can actually improve on your score as well. So I find it really useful, so I would definitely recommend it, especially if you are trying to look at your report in a lot more detail. The other one that I tend to use is ClearScore, so they really take that from Equifax, and that also shows you your report in a bit more detail as well as your score as well. And I also find that quite useful because it does give you like a level of insight in terms of where you're on track and maybe maybe where you need to improve. So for example, in my case, I'm kind of like on track in terms of, you know, like having no default repossessions, being on the electoral roll, no hard searches and things like that. So I definitely find those websites really useful, because not only will it share with you your score, for example, but it will actually help you out in terms of telling you where you need to improve. So definitely make sure you check them out. And personally, at the moment, I tend to check my score maybe once a month or once every couple of months, but because it doesn't really fluctuate that much, I know that I don't need to check it as often, and because I'm really just kind of on board with my finances now. But I also think it's quite good to check regularly, especially if you are planning, for example, to buy a house, so you know that they're probably going to be looking at your credit report and things like that, or if you know that you're going to be borrowing some money in the future as well. So in terms of how I've been able to maintain my credit score, for me, I think the biggest thing is actually getting a credit card. Now again, this is where I say do not go and get a credit card if you cannot pay the balance off every single month. Honestly guys, I'm telling you, there is no point in you getting a credit card if you really can't just pay off the balance, because if not, rather than using the credit card as a tool to actually build up your credit score, you might end up going into debt instead, and that's the last thing that you want to do, and it's the last thing I want you to do as well. So for me, again, I cannot stress enough, if you cannot pay your credit card off, please do not get it and just cut it up and just get rid of it, to be honest, because it's really not helping you. But for me, because I am quite disciplined, I have been able to use my credit card to not only improve my credit score, but actually maintain that excellent score as well. And so that's really what's kind of helped me, I think, just because lenders are able to see that I can actually utilize credit, but I can utilize credit responsibly, okay? So I make sure that I am paying off the balance every single month, and I don't really tend to utilize more than 30%. Actually, most of the time it's probably even less than 5%, unless I'm getting like a big purchase. But again, as soon as I've made that big purchase, I'm obviously paying it off as soon as possible. So lenders can actually see that, you know, they can give me credit and I can pay it back on time as well. So I think really that's been a massive game changer for me in terms of having an excellent credit score and being able to go up to 999. I'm pretty sure it is because of the credit card. And again, in terms of the way I use my credit card, I will tend to use this for all my general spending. So in terms of, you know, going for groceries or if I'm taking public transport, but I also use it for other large purchases as well. Again, these are sinking funds, so these are actually planned expenses. So for example, if I'm buying stuff for the wedding, if I'm buying presents or anything like that, then I will use my credit card, but knowing that I already have the money in my bank account. So once I've actually purchased it on my credit card, I already know that I'm paying that off as soon as possible, and I'm talking like a day or two later, to be honest. So in terms of other things, again, I would say credit utilization is probably a big thing as well. For me, I don't want to be utilizing so much credit that lenders just think I can't afford anything, or that I literally just have to live on credit for my whole life. For me, I'm at the point where I will use a small percentage of my credit, and then obviously that will get paid back as soon as possible. So that is just something that I don't really tend to entertain at all. A massive reason for that is because I'm not going to go and give my credit card company any more money than I have to. So I refuse to pay any forms of interest at all. But in terms of other tips I would give you guys is really make sure you are paying your debts on time if you do currently have debts. If it was me, for example, and I had a few debts, I would make sure I'm at least paying the minimum payment on all of them first. And then if I've got any money to overpay, then obviously choose one debt that you want to overpay. But really make sure that you're not missing payments, because that can really have an impact on your credit score as well. Obviously, you can do other things like making sure you're on the electoral roll. And then the only other thing that I would say is really make sure you're being strategic in terms of the level of credit that you might be applying for. So for example, in my case, I'm not going to go and apply for 5 different credit cards all at the same time, because yes, that can also have an impact on your credit score as well. So really here, I'm talking about when you're doing a hard search, so actually applying for the credit rather than maybe just doing a soft search. So yeah, those are obviously 2 different things, but what I would say is just make sure you know the difference between a hard search and a soft search as well, because again, one of them is most likely going to have an impact on your credit score and one of them might not. So definitely make sure you check the difference, and you should be able to see, especially if you are actually applying for credit as well. But if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel. And let me know in the comments, how often do you check your credit report? I do post every Tuesday and Friday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Friday.